Hi everyone, I'm Alex and I'm a study designer. Over the next 10 to 15 minutes, I'm going to tell you a story about how I design and build studies in an automated way. We are going to do this through a short story and demonstration, which is broken up into 3 parts: design, build, and execute. I'd like to begin by telling you how OpenStudyBuilder, Oracle, Evidentic, and Novo Nordisk have come together in what we like to call a community-driven collaboration to transform clinical study builds. I'll be joined today by Jenny, our product expert, and together we will talk you through how this collaborative effort can make a difference in your work. We'll start by diving into the automation of study builds in Oracle ClinicalOne using OSB. With its powerful form design and complex validation rules, OSB is transforming our approach to study builds, making the process faster, more compliant, and flexible. Now, Jenny will take the reins and demonstrate the automation capabilities of OSB. Over to you, Jenny.
Thanks, Alex. I'm going to start by selecting a study in OSB and browsing through each menu under the Study section. As you can see, I can view and edit the study core attributes, such as the title and other properties like type and phase. I can also easily define the study structure with arms, cohorts, and the visit schedule. Study activities in OSB represent a great concept of how to define each study event. Let me show you by expanding the detailed schedule of activities. I can now view the defined activities mapped to the study visits, and an activity can be seen as a representation of a form item, which will then be part of the visit performed by the subject. It's also worth noting that any partner with access to OSB can collaborate to have their forms included in the schedule of activities, which is a very powerful capability.
Next, we explore Oracle Apex's role in bridging the gap between OSB and Oracle ClinicalOne, highlighting the efficiency of automating data transfer. Jenny, can you please give our audience a quick view of this capability?
Thanks, Alex. The key point here is that ClinicalOne Digital Gateway for Automation is built using Oracle Apex with the sole purpose of importing study designs into ClinicalOne using APIs. Let me show you. After selecting the OSB study, I am able to view on a single page all the items required for the EDC integration, like study properties, visits, and forms. I can even view a visits and forms tree to clearly see which forms are associated to each visit based on the schedule of activities that I defined in OSB. In the extension section, there is an easy-to-read rule structure, and each rule attribute can be imported into the Apex tool and viewed by expanding the respective form item. Here are 3 different types of rules defined in OSB: a range check for height field, a show form rule for the childbearing potential question, and a create query rule for diastolic blood pressure value. Similarly, I can view the design version for an existing ClinicalOne study by having the visits and forms tables side by side. As you can see, I can easily compare the study metadata in both systems, which is a fantastic capability to have.
We will now focus on transferring the OSB study designs into Oracle ClinicalOne. Jenny will now demonstrate this critical step.
That's great, Alex. But before I start the import into ClinicalOne, I will use a series of toggle buttons in the Process Status panel to check which EDC objects will be synchronized. In order to start the synchronization, I click on the Sync C1 Study Design button here, and then I switch on the page Auto Refresh function. During the synchronization process, I can check each step and see information about the following elements. 1. Study attributes like title and phase. 2. Visits. 3. Schedules with days in between. 4. Forms and form items. And 5. Validation rules and associations between forms and visits. When the sync is complete, I then switch off the auto refresh function and verify what was imported into ClinicalOne.
We will now compare the fully populated Oracle ClinicalOne study design against the initial OSB design, showcasing the effectiveness of data mapping and validation technologies. Jenny will now guide you through this comparison.
Thanks, Alex. Let's get straight into viewing the synchronization results. I simply log into ClinicalOne and open up the settings page for the affected study and verify the title and phase attributes. I'm now focusing on the study design version, which is currently in the draft container of ClinicalOne. As you can see, all the forms defined in OSB have been imported, together with their items. A full visit schedule appears on the right panel, in addition to the unscheduled visits. The scheduled visits already have days in between in order to be performed at certain dates. A small clipboard icon and the associated number tell me the forms have been mapped to the respective visit, which is a really nice user experience. Let's now go back to the Apex tool, where I can review the same information in the tables listed under the ClinicalOne study section. Nice and simple.
In this segment, we will examine the crucial role of rule-based validation systems as we integrate complex validation rules into Oracle ClinicalOne. Jenny will now take you through this.
Thanks, Alex. As the item validation rules have been defined using OSB extensions, if I try to edit the vital signs form, I will see two validation rules, which are defined as range checks for height and weight fields. Both lower and upper values are set for the selected form item. I will now verify the validation rules on the informed consent and demography form. In this case, the age field contains a rule for the value to be greater than or equal to 18. Another type of rule has been defined for the sex field, which will show the childbearing potential question on the same form if the selected value is female. By scrolling down to the last item, I can also see that childbearing potential question will show on the pregnancy form for current and future visits only if the selected answer is yes. Back to you, Alex.
Moving the study to the testing container incorporates custom programmable rules, tailoring studies to precise needs and ensuring trial readiness. This preparing for execution stage demonstrates the vital role of custom scripting and the testing environment. Over to you, Jenny.
Okay, now that we have verified that the EDC objects have been imported in ClinicalOne, it's time to focus on custom rules. These are programmable rules, which you can only create, test, edit, approve, and publish in testing mode. The custom rules are usually more complex than validation rules, as they are defined for raising queries, sending notifications, or storing calculated values. By dragging and dropping the study version from the draft container to the testing container like this, custom rules are ready to be imported.
Integrating external data through Evidentix solutions into ClinicalOne highlights the benefits of external API calls and secure data exchange. Jenny is ready to show you how these solutions integrate, optimizing the study data.
Thanks, Alex. For the integration with our partners ePro and eConsent solutions, Evidentic has built two forms in OSB. The first is an eConsent form, and the second is an International Physical Activity Questionnaire. Both forms have been imported and mapped to their respective visits in ClinicalOne, so the study design is enhanced. In the digital gateway, an interactive web response integration was set up, so Evidentic can send subject data into both forms in ClinicalOne via API calls. It's really that easy.
The significance of custom programmable rules within the testing container tailors studies to specific objectives, simplifying execution complexity. Jenny will now illustrate the importance of these rules.
To demonstrate the custom rules creation, I'm going to select a study with a design version that is already in the testing container. By clicking on the beaker icon, I can see the subjects that are in test mode. After I select the logs visit for the existing subject, I will open a row on the concomitant medications form table. When I expand the rules section and switch to see all form rules, I notice there aren't any. When I return to the Apex application, I can look at the rules tree to see how a custom rule for concomitant medications form was defined in OSB. I can see the study version, which is in test mode, then I click the Sync C1 test button and follow the import rule process. Back in Clinical One, in the concomitant medications form, I expand again the rules section and switch to see all the form rules. I then pick the same name rule from the Apex tool and review its attributes, including name, description, variables, JavaScript expression, create query action type, and the query message.
Executing the study design and validating the study through the creation of sites, subjects, and performing visits underscores the importance of workflow automation. Jenny will now take you through the execution phase, ensuring the study's success.
Thanks, Alex. With the study moved to the testing container, I can start validating its design. I start by going to Study Settings to create or modify the testing site status. At least one approved site needs to be linked to the test version. I then enter the test mode and start adding a subject. The first visit will be performed after I enter the subject data in the required forms. The validation rules and the custom ones will trigger based on the entered values. We can observe the functionality of the show question and show form rules that have been imported from OSB using the Apex tool. I can also go to other visits and fill in the item forms there in order to have a full EDC experience.
Okay, everyone, that's the end of our story and demonstration of how we have automated StudyBuild and accelerated the time to study start. I think I will summarize what we have shown you in 5 points. 1. Automated clinical study builds using Oracle ClinicalOne and OpenStudyBuilder with extensive libraries. 2. Integrated OSB and Oracle ClinicalOne using Apex to automate data transfer. 3. Validated data mapping and rules in Oracle ClinicalOne after synchronization. 4. Integrated external data and custom programmable rules to tailor studies. And 5. Automated study build, data collection and workflow to accelerate time to study start. And finally, from a business perspective, we have shown you how StudyBuild automation can accelerate time to study start, reduce human error, cut costs and risk, while enhancing operational efficiency through higher data quality and compliance. It's definitely going to be part of the future for clinical R&D, so I'm keen for the industry to embrace its benefits.